I got a vanilla Coke.
Ooh.
You know why I got a vanilla Coke?
Why is that?
Because it doesn't have anyone else's fucking name on it. It just says vanilla Coke.
A modern podcast where Chris and Mike talk about TV, movies, superheroes, and everything in between. It's time for Superhero Slate.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this is the super special spoiler cast for Fox's Fantastic Four.
Whoa, man. This movie sucked.
Whoa. Whoa. Let's at least get through our disclaimer.
Okay.
There are spoilers in this podcast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Duh.
It's in the title.
Don't be surprised if we tell you everything about this movie.
Yeah. So we had a write-in from your fiance?
Yeah. She just sent me a text not 10 minutes ago. I say we're doing our spoiler cast. Don't interrupt me. And she said, "Oh, spoiler alert! It sucks." So, and I mean, and she's not a picky person either when it comes to films.
Mm-hmm.
She can find more enjoyable things in it than I can, because I will tear something apart back and forth. And she's just all like, "No, that was awful. I regret seeing that in theaters, and I will tell everyone not to watch it in theaters."
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking of significant others, my wife, she very much is not influenced by reviews. She has this superpower that I wish I had, where I let people influence other people's opinions influence me too much before I go to the theater. So I try very hard not to read anybody's review before the film comes out. So she went in like totally clean palate and everything, and she didn't like it either.
Yeah. So consensus, nobody likes this movie. So we're going to kind of break it down here. I wrote my review on Thursday night after I got back from watching it and put it on Comic UI and Rotten Tomatoes. And there's something I kind of want to go over on Rotten Tomatoes before we even start the show off.
Okay.
A lot of people think this is like a thing. The percents are reviews of the films. Mm-hmm. They're more so. Rotten Tomatoes tells you how much you will enjoy this film more so than a quality of the film.
Yeah, it's the percentage of people that think it's fresh or not fresh.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, it's a 60% movie. That means it's an awful movie." I'm like, no, that just means 3 out of 5 people enjoyed seeing this film at the theater.
Yeah, you can definitely see this when it comes to comedy movies, because critics notoriously don't like comedies. So like your favorite comedy movie, more than likely on Rotten Tomatoes, probably 65%.
Yeah, and don't, I mean, use Rotten Tomatoes as an example. Right now, Fantastic Four is at 9%. Yeah, that's so lower. Bad. That's lower than Pixels, and God knows how much we trashed Pixels 2 weeks ago or last week or whatever it was. But 9% says that 1 out of 10 people enjoyed Fantastic Four.
I can't fathom that.
Who is that person, and why do we need to beat them up?
Oh man!
But no, I'm serious. So it's 9%. On IMDb, which I consider more of an actual rating of the film, is at 4 out of 10. That's which actually matches up with my score. I gave it 2 out of 10. Oh,
you're so generous.
We'll go over this. I wrote, again, like I said in our regular podcast, a compliment Big Mac. Because I had 2 good things and a shit ton of other things to put in the middle that are probably not good for you. So there was a lot of metaphors going on there. So great. Let's go ahead. I mean, you went on a little bit on the last movie. Or on the last podcast, our main podcast. Is there anything you want to say before we get started?
This movie sucked.
It was not a pleasant experience.
I'm very, very concise with my opinion.
Yes, I agree. So I'm going to go ahead and start this podcast off with one of my good things I found in the film.
Okay.
So first off, I will compliment this film for being something more than just scientists in space.
Okay.
Fantastic Four, their origin is they're on a space station and they're hit with cosmic rays. Ooh. And they did this, I think, in the 94 version and the 2005 version. And that just doesn't hold up. That might have worked in the 60s when space exploration was kind of a big deal still. But so I'm glad that their origin comes from attempting to go to another universe.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea. There are ideas in this film that I liked. I like the idea of them connecting more to the Ultimate Universe.
Yes.
I like the idea of this. No, that's about it.
Yeah. So I mean, again, that's the point. It takes a page out of the Ultimate Fantastic Four universe, and I applaud it for that. That is where it gets 1 star for me, because I'm an Ultimate comic book fan through and through, and so to see that, at least attempt is more so than most studios would ever do with that. So I will give them that, and that's where I will start off with the good, and we will save the other good thing for the end.
Yeah, and I also like the idea of them being younger. Obviously, that ties into the Ultimate Universe, but I thought it worked out well. I didn't think the age was really an issue for me.
Yeah.
So and like we said on our normal episode, the whole casting the Human Torch not white, that was not an issue. I can't understand why people thought that was a problem.
Yeah, I can see long-term people saying Sue and Johnny are brother and sister. That doesn't make sense. And in this, they're not blood brothers; they're adopted. That's great. It worked out. It was done in a sentence, and we moved on. So that was not a big deal. However, this movie has some of the worst character motivations in the history of superhero films.
Oh my god!
Ever.
Cool. Okay. All right. Let me stretch here.
I see what you did.
Oh man.
God, you're part of this movie now.
Why on earth is the motivation for them to go to this other dimension because they're drunk? That is the reason why they do this. It makes no sense. It's like they were sitting down at the table, and everyone in charge of this movie was trying to figure out okay, so how do we get them over there in that negative zone? How about we give them a legitimate reason to want to be. I don't know. Maybe they got to go rescue somebody. Maybe they got to go do something important. Maybe the
machine malfunctioned.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe there's some sort of anomaly that they got to go check out. And some guy's like, "Nah, man." They get drunk and they do it because they think it's a good idea.
Yeah, they're teenagers. So how do we get teenagers to do stupid shit?
Yeah,
we get them drunk. It was horrible.
Yeah. Oh, and let's make sure Sue Storm isn't involved at all.
Right. I thought she would go over with them. And man, that was just.
All right, so I'll tell you how I wanted that scene to go, because it sounds like we're just gonna attack this movie from all different angles, from all different corners. So I was kind of playing a numbers game the whole time. So it's called the Fantastic Four. We got 5 people. If you understand the Fantastic Four and you're familiar with them, Doctor Doom is not part of the Fantastic Four. So the whole time I'm wondering, there's only 4 pods up there. How do we get everybody over there to get their powers with only 4 pods? I was trying to do the math in my head. Very easy math. It's just 4 or 5 numbers. So I was thinking that since Doctor Doom, got Doctor Doom over here. I thought his motivation of basically hating the Earth and stuff was just dumb, whatever. But I thought maybe since he very much wanted to be the first person over there, I thought maybe he would be the one to go over there by himself, and then he would get trapped, and then the 4 of them will go save him, and then that would be the fuck up. But nope, they just got drunk.
Yeah, I mean, again, trying to make Doctor Doom friends with Reed Richards is a mistake. They bonded over a drink out of a flask. No, that's not it at all. I think, again, another bad point is having Sue Storm be the only female in this movie. They didn't have no one had a mom. No one showed their moms except maybe Ben Grimm's mom. Whenever she saved him from his brother beating him up
from clobbering time.
And everyone's like, "Oh, Sue Storm's the only girl. We gotta fall in love with her." And no, it's stupid. This is a non-inspiring, juvenile, laughable mess of a script.
Oh yes.
If I could use some descriptive words there, that's what I would say. I think college students would write better things than this. Dr. Doom, actually, we reported that his name was Victor Domashev, right? Early on. That was a big rumor. Big thing that was supposed to be sick. They never said that once, so I don't know where the hell that rumor came from. They said Victor Von Doom several times. And I don't think they changed it. It felt natural. So I guess I give him points for using his real name rather than being what we thought he was going to be. Another thing I'd like to point out, and I wanted to say this on the podcast earlier so bad, is that the 1 year later screen, as soon as that came up, I'm like, this movie's fucked.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they do it twice in the film, because they do it from when they're kids to adults. You know, that seems normal. We've seen that stuff
They could have
before.
just used a fade there. That was insignificant.
Yeah, we don't need to know it's a year. But talk about a trash way to tell a story. Like, oh, we don't have time or energy to show how they actually grow and learn how to use their powers. Let's just say 1 year later and just assume that they learned it.
Yeah, again, it was an unreasonable choice to have Reed Richards run off from the group, and everyone is now military, property. And one of the best scenes from the trailer is whenever they drop Ben Grimm from a helicopter or a bomber and land on the car. They didn't even use that in the film.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I see a lot of people bringing up is, a lot of people are saying the problem with this movie is just that it's plagued with rewrites, and you can see in the trailer literally things that were left out of the movie. Now, yeah, we know sometimes trailers do include things that don't make it into the movie, but honestly, it's usually like jokes, like comedy movies that just put some jokes in the trailer and leave some out of the movie. This is like an action summer blockbuster. You don't leave stuff out. And one of the most important signs that this was just destroyed by rewrites is there's a scene in one of the trailers where Reed Richards says, "I know what's coming, doom." So we are to presume at some point in time Reed gets information that the other members of the crew don't get, and he knows, and this is a total plot point that gets thrown away. So Reed Richards escapes, and he's off doing his own thing under the radar, trying to get parts. And we assume that he's trying to build his own machine, and that totally makes sense. That motivation makes sense because he can't trust the military, he can't trust the government, so he's got to do things on his own. And he's smart, we know he has that ability. But that just totally gets thrown out of the window, and he basically just gets picked up by the thing and basically thrown into like a clear refrigerator on this plane. I think what was supposed to happen is I think he was going to go to the negative zone on his own.
Earth Zero, thank you.
Yeah. I think he was going to go there on his own and face off with Doom and get his ass kicked and narrowly get away and then bring the warning to them. But that didn't happen, and that could have been cool.
See, I don't know the scene in the trailer you're talking about. Someone is on a table, and they say Doom is coming. It's not Reed who says that.
Oh, well, I was under the impression it was Reed.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Yeah, that's fine. But again, I don't know if it was plagued by rewrites or maybe just edits like Age of Ultron was. I don't think Age of Ultron was rewritten. I think it was edited later on to tell a different story. But you're right. There are things that just kind of, like, when I saw 1 year later, I'm like, something happened. And the rest of this movie is not going to be like the first half, which wasn't horrible. I would have given it a solid 3 out of 5 had that ending not happened, because the ending is the worst part of the movie. It's over too soon.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you don't even really know what's happening. So, we know Dr. Doom is the villain, but Chris, can you pick out the other villain in this movie?
Josh Trank.
No, it's just the government.
Right.
The government. They say it all the time. It's the motivation for any reason for something to happen in this film. It's just the faceless government. We are just to assume that they're bad, even though the government was the smartest entity in this film. So I'm watching this movie, and all these brilliant scientists, some of the smartest people on the planet, are planning on being the first people to visit this unknown dimension. Fuck no, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. These are the only people that could build this thing. They're the only people that can fix it. You don't send them over this other dimension by themselves. That guy made total sense. Like, oh yeah, we can't send you over there. We gotta send NASA. We gotta send astronauts, people that are trained. I was just like, yeah, this guy's on top of it. He knows what he's doing. It's like, you guys are retarded. So they had a good idea, and then they twisted him into the bad guy.
Yeah, so a couple points about that. The guy who was the main government lead, Tim Blake Nelson, was Harvey Elder. Harvey Elder becomes the Mole Man in the comics, which is one of the very first villains. He got psionically headshotted by Dr. Doom, right there on the spot. So no future for him. Again, I went back to Dr. Doom's power set that kind of comes out of nowhere. In our Earth, he can, boom, headshot, with his head, with his mind. It's like all these people. But then he goes to the other world, and all he can do is throw rocks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? I don't get this.
Yeah. So speaking of that scene where they finally bring him in and he's on that table, that was the only time during this entire movie where I was entertained. Like, seriously, like I kind of like the very dark place that they take it, where he's walking down the hallways just killing people. You know, it was kind of out of nowhere to see this blood and this kind of brutality, and you know,
to the government.
Yeah, to the government. You know, I'm not a big fan of the way Doom looked, but I thought it was kind of cool. You know, he was just kind of being like almost like a horror monster going through these hallways killing people. But that ended very quickly.
Yeah, again, it didn't. I don't think he was a bad part at all. I don't think like his look wasn't horrible. I mean, in Fantastic Four or Ultimate Fantastic Four, he has goat legs because of the way the negative zone affected him. It like transformed his body. But either way, another something that I can't get on, like the relationships between everyone in this movie felt so forced and fake. Like, you know, Ben Grimm is supposedly Reed Richards' best friend, right? But like, you know, hey, I'm drunk. I'm going to call you. You're going to come here in an hour and we're going to go to a different dimension.
Yeah, another thing that doesn't make sense.
And then we're going to fight you a year later.
Yeah, like Ben Grimm seems to have street smarts. He seems to be relatively intelligent and can make good decisions. He should be able to look at this thing and go, this is a bad idea. And even when he's over in that other dimension, he's like, hey guys, we should get out of here. This is a bad idea. And and he doesn't even seem very like phased. Like when he's over there, he's just kind of like, oh, okay, cool, we're here now. Let's get the fuck out. Honestly, it would have made more sense if he was kind of just there to celebrate as like a party in the dorm room, and they still could have been drinking, I guess. And then maybe they all go down there to check on the transporter, and then it's gone, and they're just like, oh no, Doom's over there by himself. It just didn't make any sense. Like, just alcohol is not a motivation.
Yeah, I mean, and we've gone on that. Like, there are many things I'd like to change about this film. One, I can't stress how bad this film is, because it's so bad they couldn't even get Stan Lee to cameo in it.
Yeah,
and he's a creator of the Fantastic Four. He didn't create much of the X-Men, but he was big in Fantastic Four. But they can get him in X-Men movies, but like he said no. The building, there's something that confused me. So they start off in the Baxter Building, which is actually their like home in the Marvel Universe. And then you go to Area 57. Well, that's not clever. And then at the end, they end up in Central City, which was actually the first home they had. So they kind of did it backwards.
Yeah, and
Central City is the name of a DC city.
Yeah,
as well. And I was really confused. I'm like.
And plus, in all the movie posters, and I think even on this featured image for this podcast, there's a cityscape behind them. And every time I think of the Fantastic Four, I very much think of them ingrained in the city. You know, that's where their base is. That's where they're flying around and helping people. They're not in the city at all, ever, with their powers. I mean, they're totally detached from the world. There's no threat. Like, even at the end, when the big interdimensional rift black hole opens up, it's basically just destroying a lot of trees.
So I want to talk about that. Earlier, I talked about this movie. We can't compare it against solo starter films because it's a team, right? The end of this movie, Act 3, stole so much from Avengers and Age of Ultron. It's not even funny. First off, there's a portal to another dimension shooting up into the sky, and that's definitely from Avengers. And let's talk about the Earth, like a big hole. That big hole out in the middle of a mountainous, remote area is like the part from Age of Ultron that was lifted out of the ground. And I'm like, okay, but then the final tipping point was at the end. He's like, oh, I know what we can call ourselves, the Fantastic, and then it cut off. Just like Age of Ultron did right before he said Avengers Assemble.
Oh man, it's just
like, even like I give a applaud for trying to be creative at the beginning, and then by the third act, like, it's just snowballing into a tragedy. Honestly, like it hurt to watch this.
And, I can totally agree, man.
So. I mean, we're like 20 minutes into this thing, and I'm like, okay. Another fun fact, this is why this movie sucked. Cryptozoic Entertainment has actually owned the rights to Fantastic Four for probably 30 years. They're the company that produced the 94 version with Roger Corman, and decided not to release it. A.V. Arad, you may know him as the producer of the earlier Marvel films from like the Spider-Man era. I think he was Kevin Feige's like predecessor. He bought the movie in like 94 and destroyed all the copies so that it would never be released and tainted the reputation. Again, fast forward 10 years, guess what movie they're making again? Cryptozoic and Fantastic Four are making a Fantastic Four to keep the rights. Okay, fast forward another 10 years, what happened?
They're making another one to keep the rights.
Keep the rights. And what did they give up for this? Daredevil.
They gave up Daredevil.
So our hopes of ever seeing the Fantastic Four go to space, because in the comics they're space explorers. Okay, the Inhumans were introduced in Fantastic Four. If you did not know that, I own the first issue. I think it's issue 45 or 45. I think. So Inhumans were introduced. Galactus, Silver Surfer, the Skrulls, great things that Marvel can now use, may be on the table for them to use later, because I could see them, like we talked about earlier, Marvel be like, hey, guess what? You want to make an X-Men movie, or X-Men TV show, and your Fantastic Four movie broke the streak of Marvel films.
Broke the streak and made a brown streak.
Yeah, it was, God, so much brown streak. At least we didn't see any rock dong hanging out there for the thing.
Oh man, speaking about the Rock, so you know how when they're all in their little pods and they're basically being destroyed, eviscerated by the other dimension,
the elements, yeah.
Yeah. When Ben is getting pummeled by rocks, it looks like there's PAs off screen picking up stuff off the ground and throwing it at him.
Really?
Yeah, it looks so bad. And that's one of the things that is actually really sad. You know, most of the time, the special effects and the visuals of a movie can be insulated from the quality of the film, because it doesn't matter what the script is. You know, we're here just to animate a guy on fire flying through the air. And it all looks like shit. It all looks bad. The only thing that looks good, which makes me think that 99% of the budget went to animating the Thing. The Thing looked pretty good, but everything else around him just looked like garbage. There was
I agree, especially with Mr. Fantastic, his initial stretching, like trying to get out of those straps. That looked horrible.
Oh my god. So there's this moment in the film, in the end battle, okay? It's the moment that I don't think I've ever had in a movie before, and it's just fun. It was just fun to kind of share the moment with my wife. So everyone's kind of getting destroyed by Doctor Doom, and Reed Richards is making a run at Doom, and Doom uses whatever his undescribed power
rock
is,
throwing,
to like take his like coupling bands off of him, and he falls to the ground like cooked spaghetti. And it looks like I'm watching like an Animaniacs cartoon. I look over at my wife. I face palm. I put my palm on my forehead, and out loud, not even caring if I'm disturbing anyone in the theater, I go, "What are we watching?" It didn't make any sense. It was so goofy. It was just stupid. I mean, Mr. Fantastic is not a very cool superpower. You know, stretching, you know, it's kind of hard not to make look goofy on the screen. So you got to use him very sparingly, which is fine because he's a genius. Have him like inventing things. Have him doing like math. You know, that'd be more interesting.
Yeah, math.
Than watching him fall to the ground like he spilled your spaghetti.
So no, you're definitely right. Like, of all the people, like, and he just suddenly willed himself into the ability to use his powers in the heat of the battle. Again, Dr. Doom was done in like a second. There are two things we want to talk about. Budgets. They could have done better because they cut the 3D budget of the film out, and they could have definitely used that to put back in the graphics. But I think at that point they were cutting their losses. And I don't think this movie has a future as another. I don't think the sequel is going to come, even though it's scheduled, because there's no end credit scene. Okay, if you don't have an end credit scene in a Marvel or comic book film, what's it tell your people there?
Yeah, exactly. Even the Spider-Man reboot had after-credit scenes.
Yeah, so there's that. And lastly, we talked about this earlier. I mean, Fox is so bummed out by this that their producers are like, X-Men, entirely different universe, don't touch us with your Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And that Deadpool 2, Deadpool 1's not even out yet, has impressed the executives so much that they're like, you know what? We should probably plan a Deadpool 2 here instead of a Fantastic Four 2. And Ryan Reynolds has said he'll never play another superhero other than Deadpool. So I could totally see that happening. I would see Deadpool 2 before I see Fantastic Four 2. Would you?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think I would watch X-Men Origins Wolverine before I watch Fantastic Four again.
Gosh, yeah, that's tough because there are a lot more earlier facepalming moments in Origins. at least for this one, you have to wait till like the third act to facepalm real hard.
Yeah.
Again, if I could rank this again outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's there at the bottom.
Oh yeah, I'm struggling to think of things that are worse than this movie. I mean, I'm excluding
Daredevil's pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excluding some of the earlier things before things got rolling. Basically, anything before the first Spider-Man movie.
Well, X-Men 1 was before that. And Blade was before that. I started Blade.
Okay.
Blade after I consider, but like Daredevil's pretty facepalmy.
Yeah, it is, but I feel like at least you kind of get some charisma from the actors. Like, I don't know what Josh Trank did if he just walked on set and said, okay, everybody act like you don't give a shit about this movie, because that's how they acted.
Well, I mean, there's so many rumors going around about what happened, whether it's studio intervention or is it Josh Trank. I think, to me, I mean, you earlier, it sounded like you're pretty sold on studio intervention. I'm pretty sold on Josh Trank being the problem here.
Yeah, maybe we can just agree that it's probably like an even split. Maybe they're just they both didn't get along.
Yeah, mostly because Star Wars fired him, and if Star Wars fired him, like, I mean, they had George Lucas do prequels. I mean, they can't.
Yeah, I mean, and I've heard rumors on set on Chronicle that he's difficult to work with too. So I think it's just
we're not here to point fingers. How about that?
Yeah, we're just here to say the movie sucked.
I wish I had 2 more hands, so I could get this movie 4 thumbs down.
Oh man,
the fantastic 4 thumbs down.
The fantastic flop.
That's one way to put it. So, little stats. Did we talk about this earlier? That this is not the #1 movie this weekend, actually.
Yeah.
It barely scraped by. I think it's second, but Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation is beating it.
Well, that's good.
And that's the second week out.
Yeah, I like Mission Impossible movies. That does not surprise me that it beat it. Man, I'm just bummed. I mean, we obviously want all superhero movies to do well. And it sucks that this didn't achieve it. It would have been cool to see a Fantastic Four X-Men crossover. It's not going to happen now. It really makes me wonder what the future of this team is. I mean, like we said, we don't know the length of these contracts. We don't know how long it's going to be that they get to make another one. When was the last Fantastic Four movie before this one?
2007.
2007. So we think this is maybe like they have 8 years possibly when they make a new film.
I'd say 10. I think it's 10 years. But I mean, that's if they don't I mean, again, like we talked, Marvel has an upper hand now, just like they did with not Daredevil, Spider-Man. Because they've shown that other studios can't make gold. But Fox wants an X-Men TV show, like you said, and I didn't think of this until you said that. Fox wants an X-Men TV show, but Marvel has to sign off on it. And what better way to say, hey, look, your movie sucks. You're probably not going to make another one again. Like, why wait 10 years? Let's just do a trade now.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Just sweep this under the rug, Fox. We'll forget this ever happened. I mean, one thing that's kind of funny. So I've been watching Frasier because it's been on Netflix. I fucking love that show. There's a scene in the show where Niles and Frasier, the thing that they love most about going to like a high class dinner that's delicious, that there's always one thing about the dinner that's bad that they can nitpick for the rest of the night just because they're snobs. Sometimes it's entertaining every once in a while when we do get a really bad Marvel movie, a bad comic book movie, and we can kind of just sit down and pick it apart, because usually they're really good. Usually we have a good time and there's redeemable qualities about the film, and we can't sit here and trash it for 30 minutes, but honestly I could probably sit here for 2 more hours and trash this film.
It's definitely true. And I want to give out some Easter egg, I guess, casting choices. His teacher in elementary school for Reed is Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson. And also Tim Heidecker from Tim and Eric's awesome show or whatever.
Yeah, that kind of took me out of it because every role he's ever in is just crazy and goofy, out of control, and then he's supposed to be kind of like this redneck dude.
Yeah, he was Reed Richards' dad.
Yeah.
I actually didn't catch that until after I was like watching the credits.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all in all, I had another good point for this, and I think it's kind of the same thing as our first good point, is that, you know, there's some body horror, and they try to take a different approach to a superhero story or a Fantastic Four film than we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I give them a little credit for that, and that's why they get another star. But the best part of the film is nearly destroyed by Dr. Doom himself. So, any last notes you want to add? I mean, I'm out of horrible words to describe this.
Honestly, child acting is always really hard to get off the ground, and I know some people are saying that they liked that part of the film, but I think we could have cut that out altogether. It never really mattered that Reed and Ben were friends. I don't think we even really needed to establish that. They could have just introduced the film and said, "Oh, hey, we're friends." We would have been fine with that.
Yeah, you're right. Like, again, I think it's good to show that he was smart from a young age, but again, we don't feel that connection that Ben and Reed had really mattered. So.
And I was kind of crossing my fingers throughout the whole film that we get to see a dark side to Reed, you know, because I really liked the twist in the Ultimate Comics where Reed becomes a bad guy, and I thought that would have been so cool if somehow we could have built up to that at some point in time. Maybe a couple years down the line, the Fantastic Four and X-Men teamed up to take down Reed. That would have been unprecedented, and that would have been awesome, and that would have been an awesome character arc to see in Reed, to go from good guy to bad guy.
Yeah,
but
I agree. Seeing that in the future would have been awesome.
We're not getting that now.
No. Well, we might. Who knows? But yeah, just a lot about that movie just is not set well, and I guess that's it. I can't think of anything else. Like I said, I'm sitting here trying to figure out, but I'm just coming back to the same points. Fantastic Four is not something you should see in theater.
No, it's not something you should see, period. And if you do, make sure you don't pay for it.
Yeah, I would say if it's on TV later, maybe watch it just to experience it.
Yeah, just to see what everybody's talking about.
Yeah, but other than that, avoid the theaters at all costs, my friends.
Yeah, I mean, if you get dragged to the theater, at least the best part about the film is going to be the Deadpool trailer. And then the worst thing that could have happened before this Fantastic Four movie was the last trailer that was rolling was Star Wars.
Oh.
I was like, oh no.
I actually didn't get Star Wars, so now I'm jealous.
Yeah, so I got some awesome trailers before this movie rolled.
In your recliner seats, you asshole.
Yeah, man, sitting in those recliner seats watching a shitty movie.
So, well, maybe if I'm lucky enough, I can convince Mike to do our next movie night on the old Fantastic Four movie. So we're not really going up from here.
That is true in every sense.
So, all right then. Well, that's our Unfantastic Four spoiler cast.
Yeah, the movie sucked. I think I've said that 4 times now.
Yeah, my fiance says it sucks, and she's the boss.
Yeah, we all say it sucks. Don't see this movie. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry to deliver the bad news.
Yeah, I'm really not sorry. Again, there are good things to be gleaned from this, hopefully for the future. But other than that, that's for another day.
All right. Well, that's another spoiler cast in the bag, and we will
let us know what you think of this movie if you've seen it.
Oh yeah,
if you've avoided it, even better. But if not, let us know.
If you're someone that think this movie was redeemable and deserves a sequel, I want to hear from you specifically.
Yeah, what movie were you watching?
Yeah.
How drunk were you when you walked into that interdimensional portal?
Yeah. Well, Chris, if they want to keep up and hear if we're doing any movie nights on the old Fantastic Four, where can they follow you?
They can follow me on Twitter at Valdan, VALDAN, or you can head over to Comic UI and read my Fantastic Four review in full. I've taken excerpts from it and used them here in our podcast. So that, and where can they find you, Mike, if they want to follow you and hear about how exquisite your movie-going experience was?
Well, they can follow me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and as always, you can read my webcomics over at pickledcomics.com. Like I was saying earlier, I was inspired by this film to make a comic about Fantastic Four, and that'll probably drop on Wednesday or Thursday. But so get ready for that.
Yes, I am excited. I'm ready to see them.
Yeah, but as always, please visit superheroslate.com. That's where you can find the links to all the outlets for our show. We're on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Tumblr, email. You can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. We're everywhere. If you have an account on the internet, there's probably a place you can follow us.
You don't even need an account. You can just go to our website.
Yeah, that's true. You can just go to superheroslate.com and then just listen directly on there if you want to. But if you like these spoiler casts and you like the regular episodes, please head on over to iTunes and give us a review. It helps us be seen to potential new listeners, and we love it when you guys listen. And you can email us at superheroslate@gmail.com and let us know what you thought about this film, and we'll definitely give you guys a shout out on the next episode.
Yeah, definitely. We look forward to it. And until then, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, this movie sucked.
Okay, it sucked, Mike. It sucked.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.